I have been on Lexapro for about 4 months now. I take 5 milligrams every night before I go to bed, and it has honestly changed my life for the better. Antidepressants is something that I thought I would never try. And I have tried many different things for my mental health. I have done lots of different kinds of therapy, but antidepressants is something that I resisted for a really, really long time. I've had multiple therapists suggest that I try antidepressants. I have had people in my life suggest it, people who have tried it themselves and that it has been very beneficial for them. And I've gotten really, really close to trying it a few times in years past. And each time I've gotten close, it's been a time where my mental health has been at its very worst. Really deep depression and suicidal ideation and just feeling panicked and overwhelmed and like I just don't want to be here and I just don't want to have to do this. This being life. Every time I've gotten close, somehow I've been able to climb out just enough from that depression, just in the nick of time, so that I haven't had to go through with actually reaching out to one of the many referrals I have gotten for psychiatrists and actually starting the process of looking for the right antidepressant. But this time around, something was different. It was still the same panicked, overwhelmed feeling of I don't want to be here and I don't know how I can do this. I don't want to have to do this. Feeling numb and hopeless and worthless, and I'm being so mean to myself, and I know I'm being mean to myself and I don't want to be, but I don't know how not to be. But I think what was different was I really wanted to get better. And I was willing to give this a try. I had some moments and some short seasons last year of feeling truly alive for the first time in a really, 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 really long time. And feeling hope and feeling joy and feeling free. And I think because I knew what that felt like, even in some moments, that gave me the push that I needed to say, okay, this time around, I'm going to try it. No matter how scared I am, no matter how much I am resisting this, I'm gonna do it this time. And I think there was one more thing, actually, that also pushed me to do it. And that was I had started running again in December of 2023 for the first time in about 5 to 6 years. And growing up, running was a really, really powerful outlet for me. When things in my very chaotic household were at their worst, I would go to the gym and I would run on the treadmill, or I would drive myself to a trail and I would go for a trail run. And that feeling, that runner's high, was so incredibly helpful for coping with the trauma that I was experiencing and the feelings that I was overwhelmed with and didn't know what to do with. And so finding that again in December was once again very powerful, and I was reminded of what it felt like to run, because I hadn't done it for so long because of this ongoing knee issue. I had had a knee injury in, I believe it was 2018, that put an end to running and also put an end to playing soccer. And it felt very devastating. I was very, very disappointed and just deeply sad to lose two things that I loved so much and that were so helpful for my mental health, running and soccer. And so when I found running again at the end of last year, and it was in preparation for a soccer season that I had signed myself up for in hopes that I would be able to do it again, I felt so empowered at first, and I was so excited that I jumped right back into running without easing into it, which in retrospect, I probably should have run for 5 minutes and then waited. But my mental health was so bad in December of last year that I was desperate. I just felt this overwhelming, like just panicked desperation of like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can stay here. Like, I didn't have the patience to ease back into running. I was like, this feels so good. I just want to keep running right now. And so, I ran like 2 miles the first time. And then the next time I ran like 3 miles. And I was so excited that I was like, where's all this fitness coming from? Like, I've been pole dancing, I've been hiking, I've been walking, but I haven't been running. And here I am, like, running more and more every time I run. I was so excited. But because I rushed back into it, I did re-injure my knee. It was the exact same injury, exact same knee. I was then reminded of another feeling, a horrible feeling that I had kind of forgotten the sensation of as well, which was the way that my knee felt after injuring it. It's a very unique feeling because of the mental state that I was in at the time. It's hard to put it into words. It just added. It ramped up the panic and the overwhelming anxiety I already had about being able to keep going. And again, I was being really, really mean to myself. I won't repeat the kinds of things I was saying to myself, but just know that they were horrible. And I knew that. I was very self-aware about it, I had plenty of awareness to know, this is so mean. I would never treat a friend like this. And part of the way I was being mean to myself is I was blaming myself for getting injured. And I knew that didn't make sense, but it didn't matter. The way that I was feeling and where my brain was at, I was just gonna blame myself no matter what. I kept telling myself, you knew this would happen. You knew this would happen. You injured your knee before, you knew this would happen again. And not only did you remember what running was like and then lose it right away within a week to a week and a half, but you also lost temporarily the ability to, go hiking, to dance, to do other, forms of movement that are really helpful for you.
It's after my appointment for my knee, and I'm really not in a good headspace right now. I don't know what I was hoping for. Something like rest it for a few days, put on a knee brace, and get back on the treadmill. I think that's what I was really hoping for. But instead, the doctor gave me a 6-week recovery plan. And on week 4 is when I can do a 5-minute jog and see how it feels. It's a little hard to describe, but the way my brain is right now, 6 weeks feels like a lifetime. And I'm having such a hard time finding the motivation to just go the next day. I'm just really overwhelmed by life right now. And I'd really like to be kind to myself and show myself compassion. But that's so hard to do. It's so hard to do. I'm just so used to blaming myself for everything, including my negative feelings. I don't know. I just hope that this is going to get better because I'm really struggling right now. Really, a lot.
Looking back, I'm glad that I gave it a try because there are so many things that you just don't know how they're going to be until you try them. And I think it was brave of me to try running again. I really, really wanted that, and I gave it a try, and that's brave. And so I'm proud of my past self. But what I realized is that I can't rely on exercise alone because what happens when I get injured? What happens when, for whatever reason, I'm not able to exercise the way that I'm wanting to? I realized that I needed extra help. I needed something outside of myself. And so that's the other reason why I decided this time that I was going to try antidepressants no matter what. And honestly, Lexapro is helping me be able to be proud of myself. Lexapro is helping me learn to love myself, to take steps towards loving myself and doing acts of self-love, which then sometimes feelings of self-love follow the acts of self-love, is what I'm experiencing in the last couple weeks, last month or so. And it's really weird because I've never experienced this before, but I absolutely have to give so much credit to my antidepressants because they are giving me enough okayness in order to do the work on myself that I want to do, including having self-compassion. I decided to not give up on playing soccer. And I'm so glad I did that. Thank you, past self, because I am playing soccer again. My knee still hurts sometimes, but it is manageable. And I think that's kind of how my anxiety and depression is now too. It's not completely gone. Lexapro hasn't made it go away, but it's manageable. And some days are worse than others. Some days are better than others. But it has turned the volume down on the amount of anxiety and depression I am dealing with. And I would say it has helped me with the depression the most, and that's really what I was hoping for. That's what I was so desperate for, because anxiety has been a thing, a big thing for me since forever. I can't remember a time in my life ever when I haven't had loads of anxiety. And while it's not fun, and sometimes it's worse than others, overall I have a lot of tools to cope with my anxiety, and it's a lot easier for me to deal with than the depression. But depression, oof, I am not able to use tools to get myself out of that. When I'm in a bout of depression, like a pretty bad depression slump, you know, I feel afraid. I feel really afraid that, that I'll never get out of it. And I feel afraid that I'm going to follow through on the feelings and the thoughts that I'm having of a suicidal nature. And so the fact that Lexapro has helped me immensely with the depression specifically, oh man, I'm so, so incredibly grateful. Leading up to actually starting Lexapro, I was terrified of having side effects. I was so, so anxious and so scared about potential side effects. And I had Googled it and I was reading worst case scenarios and I knew that I shouldn't, but I was doing it anyways and I was blaming myself for that, and it was just a mess. And I was so scared of side effects that I asked the pharmacist if I could cut my pill in half and try 2.5 milligrams to start with. The pharmacist said that that's fine. So that's what I did. The first week on half of my therapeutic dose, which is 5 milligrams, I did 2.5. And I was bracing myself for side effects, and I'm very grateful to say I did not have any side effects. I think in the first week I was maybe a little extra tired, but I often feel tired, and I have trouble sleeping in general. So that could just be me rather than a side effect of the medicine. But yeah, otherwise, I didn't get nauseous. I wasn't dizzy. My brain wasn't fuzzy. I was able to focus. I think when I started to feel the positive effects was about 3 weeks in. And I think that the positive effects have only grown over time. And I think the reason for that is it's not necessarily that the medicine is working better and better over time, although, I'm not a psychiatrist, so maybe. But what I think it is I think the Lexapro is allowing me to do the things that I haven't been able to do before. It's allowing me to use the tools that I want to use for my mental health, to take these steps towards learning to love myself. And it's giving me the space to find more confidence and find more courage and reconnect with myself and who I truly am inside, and who has wanted to get out over the years and hasn't been able to because of complex PTSD and all that that entails, and circumstances and so many other things. So it's not just the antidepressants, it's the antidepressants and me. I'm fighting really hard to learn to love myself, to create the life that I want. And instead of living my life for others, living my life out of obligation and duty and what I feel is expected of me, I'm finally, for the first time, trying to live my life for me. And I'm living the way that I want to live. And I absolutely feel that Lexapro is helping me do that. I don't have any desire to increase the dose anytime soon. I feel like this is a really good antidepressant for me. It's a really good match. And I'm so grateful that my psychiatrist found a good match on the very first try. That's wild. That was also something I was not expecting. I was preparing myself to spend a long time looking for the right medicine. I just feel immensely grateful, and I think I'm glad I'm making this video because it's a reminder to slow down and look at how far I have come just in the last 4 months, and to really appreciate how much better I feel now. I think sometimes I forget just how horrible I was doing and how horrible I was feeling 4 months ago. So I don't know how long I will be taking Lexapro. I don't know if it's going to be, a short-term thing, a long-term thing, a lifelong thing. I don't know, but all I can say is that I'm just so grateful for where I'm at right now. And I'm so grateful for what antidepressants has done for my life, even in the last 4 months.